Bump Love is brought to you by
Dial *185 hash option 6 and you could be our lucky winner.
Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless.
On the next episode of Bump Love.
Many of you are teachers, many of you are learners, many of you are educators, educationists. Many of you have questions about what schools your children are going to. Are they receiving the best education values?
The purpose of education is not to prepare people for a hypothetical future. No. The purpose of a true education is to empower people to optimize themselves now.
The way the world is changing, did we know we're going to have AI today?
I know!
Were we prepared for it?
know.
Have we embraced it? Are we working with it?
Yes. One of the biggest challenges I have in my child care center is parents asking why their 2-year-old can't read.
No.
2 years old. Why they can't read.
Hello, friends, family, lovers. How are you today? It's Friday, Bump Love Day, and I'm sure the first one who was here from Paraguay? Hola! I'm Beverley Namozen Sengiva, poet, speaker, and co-host of Bump Love, the show that brings you substance on motherhood, womanhood, femininity, women of value.
Come on now.
And we're here to discuss education today. There are about 5 types of education. We have our expert with here to share with us. Mr. Ambrose Mukiibi. He's an educationist, specialist in career guidance. And you're going to know more about that today because education, it's why we're here. It's why we're here. And that's what today's conversation is about. May I introduce, look at these 2 co-hosts. Look at them, embracing inner beauty, churning it out with so much power. Barbara,
also outer.
you really look lovely. You are adorned in grace and aura, and the colors blend so well. How are you today?
Like my colors.
Like your colors. Oh, what a great question. You really look lovely.
Thank you.
Yes.
I am well.
Yes, you look calm and resplendent. You really do. Okay, it's good you're okay. Manuela, as always, Manuela, I have a business idea for you.
Hello.
I think that you have the ability to go into fashion or style.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have the time or if it's been in your
Deep down there.
deep down, your 10-year goal, think about it. I think you do well. I think you do well. Yes.
If it is somebody's gift and God is giving it to me through Beverly, I'm going to run. And if it is yours, please run so that. But thank you so much, Beverly. You're looking splendid yourself.
Thank you.
I know you don't like wearing color and patterns on TV, but
No.
baby
It's working.
girl, it's working.
Hey.
Don't stop.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm
That's
fine. I've had a beautiful week.
Yeah.
This week has been, a good week.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was a good week. And we hope and trust that you had a good week as well. Today is Mr. Ambrose Mukiibi. Are you well?
I'm feeling blessed.
You're feeling
and
blessed.
honored to be in the midst of
Ah.
these high energy ladies.
High energy ladies.
So the girl power is all over the air.
I love it.
We embrace being women. We love it. We love
I know.
it.
From my wife, I know.
You know it. Ah, Doreen.
Yes.
Send her our love.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
I need to ask a question first
Yes.
before we go into education.
Yes.
What is one thing you didn't know about yourself that you discovered that surprised you?
One thing I didn't know about myself.
Yes.
Hey, that I discovered like when?
There are many.
I like
When-
that.
Like when?
Yesterday when you were 7 years old. Anytime.
Now when you're sitting
Yeah.
down.
Yes.
Okay. I knew I am shy, but yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I didn't know that I could easily freak out.
Oh.
Yes, and recently that happened
That
to me.
happened,
And
wow.
Yeah, it happened to me.
Doesn't look
You know,
like
but it took like a minute. And a minute is long, eh?
A minute is long.
It's long,
is long.
with an audience.
wow.
But I was, I think, kind of electrocuted mentally by the ambience of the place.
Yeah.
So I was, I think I was swallowed up in the amazement
Yeah.
of the you know, the
event,
ambience.
The glory of
Yeah,
the event.
it's together.
Yeah.
You remember, like, yeah, anyway, I don't want to go there. when you talked about the glory,
Yeah.
I was thinking about Peter, James, and John marveling at this.
Yes,
Okay.
true.
But anyway,
Got that.
And you recovered. Look at you now.
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
You did.
recovered.
Okay.
I'm in a welcoming environment.
Yeah.
These three wonderful ladies.
Aw, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
at home.
We're glad you feel welcome. Barbara, is there anything early childhood or recently that you discovered about yourself that you didn't know before?
Yes. I like to talk to people.
Yeah.
I enjoy the company of people, but not many people, not often, and I like to be alone many times.
Okay.
I didn't know. So I was always this person that I'd find myself at parties, I'd find myself, because I like to talk to people, but then again I'd find them draining. And I never really understood. So sometimes I'd think it's that crowd, I don't like it. Those people I don't like. But when it became to, I said, okay, then there's a bigger problem. So I like people, I like to talk, but I don't like to be in places with very many people, like big crowds, big spaces, or even spend long times. Like after 2 hours, I'm done.
But you've embraced it as a strength?
Yeah.
Yes, good. As long as you've embraced it.
Extroverted.
Because it can work in your
introvert?
favor many
Yes.
times. Extroverted, introvert.
Meaning you're more introverted,
Yes.
Yeah.
but then some extroverted tendencies
I have the
come
extrovert
out.
traits, but I am more of an introvert.
Okay. What have you discovered about yourself that you didn't know? Maybe from childhood or in the recent past?
Why are you laughing at me?
What is happening?
From my discovery, you've started, your expression changed. Have you discovered
Might I
something
be
about
an introverted extrovert?
the other way around?
like,
Introverted
extrovert. I think one thing that I've learned, I don't know whether I want to say that I have learned about myself, but I feel like I have actually morphed.
Excuse me.
It's not something that I originally had. It's just that I have morphed.
Okay.
Like I've actually become something else, if that makes sense.
All right.
I feel that I am a really good homemaker. Like,
Wow.
I look at myself,
Yeah.
I'm like, I can do this thing.
Yeah.
I can manage. Recently, I told you guys I got a maid.
Yes. Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia.
And she doesn't live at home, and she's, But then, the other day, I was looking at her, I was like, it should look really nice in a uniform. I swear I got a uniform. I said, after I was done, I was like, Manuel, for what? What over? But she looked so nice. Even her, she was just like,
I'm smart.
I'm so smart. And then she told me, thank you so much for doing this, because I was going every day. I have to go back. I mean, at the end of the week, I have to go and wash clothes. And I'm the one who washes my clothes. And I'm like, it's just too much to wash my clothes, wash my husband's clothes. Kati now just in
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we have to cut it.
What did I discover about myself? I discovered that actually I do have more self-control than I think. And I'm talking about eating.
Oh.
Because when we came in the room, I was here earlier, and usually they provide so many sweets.
Golden tulip.
Yes, you would not have found any here. But you know who has finished them? Not me. Now, it seems something small, but really, I would be the first, and then let me take nothing. I saw them and
Felt nothing.
yes. So I think actually when I apply, I don't need it. Maybe because my mind was on something else that was more important. But I realized, do you know when you apply something small, it can actually, yes. So
Good for
that-
you.
it's something small, but I realized,
It's not
how
small.
come I didn't take any sweets? Like the sweets I would like, I didn't
It's
take
not
any.
small.
Yeah.
It's not small.
Yeah.
Overeating
So-
is a thing. For real.
Yes.
Yeah, we
and the wrong
struggle.
things. You'd
Yeah.
rather overeat apples maybe.
Lol.
Or jackfruit and groundnuts.
Oh my. Yeah.
Our guest today is Mr. Ambrose Mukiibi. And he's an educationist, career guidance specialist, a human specialist. In other words, you in human performance, you apply strategies to ensure that individuals receive their highest potential and apply it.
Yes.
That's powerful. People may call that team building, wellness, I don't know. But
Life
for you,
coach.
human, that was the word I was looking for. I was
Life
looking
coach.
for that word.
Life
That's the
coach.
word I was looking
Yes.
for. But you're a human performance specialist. You are also married to Doreen Mukiibi.
Yes.
Blessed with 3 children, Manuel, who sadly passed,
Yes.
and 2 daughters, Gabrielle and Francesca.
Yes.
Great work.
Yeah.
Which part? Which part?
Which part?
The human performance.
Everything. Please send our greetings to Doreen.
I'll do that.
And you have a groundbreaking book which shall be shared.
Yeah.
I love the title. That shall come in our discussion in education. Everything about you has been in your career specifically and intentional towards education.
Yes.
Before we get to where you are now and how you've built yourself in that area, can you describe your education while growing up?
Well, first of all, before I describe the education, let me provide an operating definition of education,
Oh, good. Okay.
which then will explain why
Yes.
I describe my education the way I do.
Okay, great. Yes.
Now, I happen to be influenced by a number of thinkers around education, but there's 2 guys that have been very, very influential on me. One is a guy called Paulo Freire, wrote an interesting book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And another guy, he's a theologian, Luigi Giussani. He wrote a book, The Risk of Education. And Luigi Giussani defines education, interestingly, and as simple as introduction to total reality. That's education.
Okay.
Introduction to total reality. Meaning that education means you introduce this person to the entirety of their reality, their personal reality, who am I? And then the reality around them, the environment.
Yes.
The environment.
Love that.
The environment in the micro at home,
Yes.
in the community, in the neighborhood, in the country, in the globe, but also now in the different disciplines.
Yeah.
There is the water here, it has its own science. But then there is the glass, it also has its own science. The science of the glass, I think, is a lot to do with physics and chemistry. Then the science of the water is a lot to do with chemistry and the biology and stuff like that. And so everything around us, plus everything inside us, that is total reality. So education is the introduction to that reality.
Okay.
Meaning that the more I learn of me, about myself,
You're getting it.
and the more I learn about the environment, is the better I am able to apply myself to that reality.
Yeah.
So now, my education, of course, as you would know from that definition, starts with home. I went to school at the age of 6. That's when I first went to school. In the village, eri muchalo Mpatta, baitayo Mpatta. It's called Mpatta.
I know pattern.
You know Mpatta?
A friend of mine comes from there.
Are you sure?
I love it.
I
Surprise.
yes, I am.
Because it's deep inside.
You see what she says? Now, my village is very interesting. It's 40 kilometers from Kampala city center.
Yes.
Same distance as from Kampala to the airport at Entebbe. But the place is so remote. And that is if you take Mukono, if you go through Mukono town. But if I decide to go by water, it's even shorter. Because I'll go to Gaba, I take a boat at the landing site, it takes 15 to 20 minutes to cross, a motorboat, and then
You'll be in the villa.
then I'll be in my
Be
village.
like I've gone to the villa.
But
in
that
a yacht.
place, I'm telling you, that place, so remote. Now, my parents, peasants, both of them, and My father used to be a very hardworking guy, and he used to grow these sweet bananas, ndizi, and cocoa, and coffee, and sorghum. So he would, when he's bringing his produce to Kampala, he would ride on his bicycle, takes to the lake, keeps fetching many times, and when he has enough, now he puts in the boat, and then they cross over to Gaba. Then he rides like so many tons, coming to Nakasero market, dumping them, going back to Gaba, like that, and until they are all there, and then he begins now selling them. And so that's the environment I was born in, and I remember I'm 12th among 13. Yes. So by the time I was like growing up, my siblings were older, so I would escort them to go to the cocoa garden, you know, to harvest the cocoa and so on. And again, with the sweet bananas, same thing, the coffee, same thing. So that was my classic grounding,
Yes.
in introduction.
That was your
to
classroom.
total
It was
reality.
outdoors.
Yes. And then I went to, one day all my siblings had gone to school and I felt bored. I was 6, and then I escaped home and I followed them to school in the village. That's how I started school.
Oh my, there you go.
I repeated P2 because of the war in 1979. Idi Amin. I was in P2, and the war broke up, and I was staying with my sister at Mpiji. She was staying at Mpiji. And then, yeah, so after the war, then I had to repeat P2. And then P3, I studied in the village, and then I came to Mulago. There's a ghetto school there in Mulago. That's where I spent most of my primary cycle at Mulago St. Kizito. So when I came there, I repeated P3. But all I can say is I enjoyed my primary. Secondary school, I went to the seminary, Catholic seminary, for 5.5 years. And then I sat my senior 6 at Nagalama, St. Joseph, and I passed on government sponsorship, went to Macquarie University.
After all that,
Yes.
after all of that,
Well,
yes.
not all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and I studied social sciences, political science, public administration, Macquarie University. And yeah, but later on, as we'll discover, I took a different trajectory.
Yes. But that, it's wonderful to know the background,
Yes.
Yeah.
because we don't come from a vacuum. We
No,
come
we
from a
don't.
foundation, and
It's
your
so
foundation
true.
is so colorful and diverse.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Just one thing I didn't mention, actually,
Yes.
that I think is very interesting. P4 up to P7, I would wake up, as I told you, we stayed in the ghetto, Mulago, and we had a family business owned by my brother. It was known as the Chapati Factory. Factory, like factory. We used to produce about 3,000 chapatis a day. And my brother employed 7 workers. And so when you came, we had these big stoves, like the 5-liter tank, the ones for pressure.
Yes.
So at any given time, the person who was in the kitchen had 3 stoves.
Yes.
All of
Running.
them, like running. And you had a saucepan here, saucepan here, and it would be like a tractor. So you wouldn't hear, it was like a real factory.
For context, each person produced at least 500 chapatis a day.
See, that's mathematics at work.
I'm a
Yes, so,
I'm a mathematician.
so
Academics.
I want to arrive at my role. My role was, I would wake up in the morning. Actually, most times my brother who I follow would wake me up because I used to love sleep a lot. Wake me up at 5:30 every day to go and chop the onions in the workshop. Yes, it used to be a big bulk. Chop the onions.
Tears, Baba.
I had gotten used. I had gotten used. So by 6:30, I am done. I got prepare go to school, and the good deal was I was entitled to as many chapatis I wanted. So I had a lot of friends at school. Yes. And then in the evenings when I came back, some days I would dodge and go to play football, but most days I had to go to the workshop and again chop onions.
You were taught to be industrious at a young age. From
From
chapati factory to career guidance specialist.
Exactly.
Wow. What a journey.
Rich story.
Yeah. What do you remember, Barbara Manuela, about your childhood growing up?
Let Manuela start. Because mine is, I mean, his story is so rich.
So I'm the one who's next
Your
in
story
line.
may be rich. We never I don't say mine.
I believe we all have rich stories. They're just different.
I don't
they're
say
very
so.
different.
Then I went to Lincoln.
I know.
Then,
No, I think for me, my childhood, in terms of my education now, what did you say? My introduction to my
total reality.
Thank God.
Total reality.
Yeah, I was going to start with. So I started nursery school.
Thank you.
Clearly. I grew up in a home. I was the 8th out of 10 children. We lived in Makerere University. So for me, I lived at the hill, the epitome of education. Formal education.
The ivory tower.
The ivory tower. I witnessed, I think for me, seeing older people going to school every day, going into university, I always treasured and wanted to be them because I thought they had a certain form of freedom. They had no parents to tell them what to do. They were not washing cups and plates because they just, we had access to the university and every corner of the university, including their kitchen. So we would see what's going on. They would be leaving plates and people picking. I'm like, man, that's the life. When you get education, you become like these people.
Yes.
Then they would be unruly. My dad was the warden of Northcote Hall. So, my God, we were there for all the drama, especially the times when they would fight with the then Northcote Hall would fight with Lumumba. And so some of the things that I saw in my introduction to reality were things like blood and first aid, because people, those fights were
like
real. Yes, near death of people. Like it was so bad.
what were they fighting for meanwhile? Power?
For the fun of it.
Yeah,
Sports, maybe after sports.
No, it was those things where they walk through the yard. They have one day when they walk to all the halls and kind of like, I don't know what it was. Anyway, it was just for the fun of it, really, honestly. But it would become so brutal, so brutal. And so at our sitting room, every time we knew Lumumba was coming, we would move chairs, bring out mattresses, because we knew there was going to be pain. There would be nurses in our sitting room as we are hiding, because we would never ever have the same windows. Like our windows would always get broken with stones, with sticks. Yeah. So I saw
at the Ivory Tower.
At the Ivory Tower.
At the Ivory Tower.
Yes. So I was introduced to the reality of violence at that time. Yeah. I was also introduced to the reality of, just health and well-being at that time. Like how is it that someone is just about to die and no nurse could come during. If you weren't in the Pachuto resident at that point to help people, that was it. No ambulances were coming, no.
They would be stoned or something.
They would be stoned, My own auntie, I also witnessed or learned the reality of just people being mean. My aunt gave birth in a car because the Northcote boys had refused the car to move to take her to give birth.
Even after being told.
They could see she was screaming. They were excited. Yeah. They were excited. My dad wasn't around, but my mom, we tried to get her, they tried to get her. The boys were like, no, let her give birth. Let her give birth. We want to see. We've never seen a woman giving birth. And there were like many. So that was also the first time I witnessed just some people.
Brutal.
Yeah, like just some form of brutality. But also it was a place that, for me, that introduced me to things like godliness, because that was where I found, my sister was the first person to give her life to Christ in our home, and then I gave my life to Christ after her. I really admired what she looked like and what she did. And so I was introduced to the reality of a deity and a God from there. And so we used to go to church at Sunday school. At St. Francis. We used to go to Sunday school at St. Francis Chapel. And that was a place that I grew up spiritually, and so it was amazing. Another concept I learned was friendship. Like, my friends were there, like, because the way Makere is structured, the children of staff were always, we always knew each other.
Yeah.
Even if someone got lost, you would know they are in someone's home, somebody there. So some of my good friends were people that I grew up with all that time. So yeah.
You know the dichotomy I like about your story? That while there was brutality, there was also salvation.
Oh, yes,
I
there
loved it. I was
was.
like, what a beautiful way your life just found salvation.
And then after that, we went to poverty. After.
All
right. That's a story for another day. After
But I
all
feel
of
like you
that
told us
life,
bits and pieces of it. For us, we just have to piece it.
we have to put it together. After all that good life. I mean, we came from a place of plenty. Duke Lake, like, we would have bread, because Northcote Hall would be like our source. They would do bread from there. So we'd have bread
They had
and
a bakery?
like bakery. Yeah, I don't know whether they had or it was just available. I don't know.
Okay, that's...
Beans, posho, rice, everything was available from the. So we had so much to eat, and then to one day go to the next person.
Manela's story would
Thank
be
you for
rich.
sharing. I want to thank you for sharing.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
My story with education. No.
Total reality.
Introduction
To total reality.
Yeah.
What I remember is our dad was a storyteller. He loved telling stories, and I've just realized now that I married a person who's like my dad. Yes, he enters the house, and people are around him. He'll tell this first group of people stories, then finds the next group, tells the next group. Yeah, so my dad was a storyteller, and through him, I got to learn very many stories. And also he tried to put lessons within the stories. Without being direct.
Yeah.
So my first lessons on emotional intelligence were from my dad. He comes and tells you, sorry, we're in the village and this happened. And someone said, you're not supposed to say things like that because you could hurt someone's feelings. Not everything that comes to your mind should be said. What has he just taught you? Emotional intelligence. But he's not being direct about it.
This is...
No. So from a really young age, I remember he used to tell us so many stories. But I remember the highlight is our stories in Busia, which we're not doing now. During the holidays, my parents were brave enough to take us to Busia, leave us there, and come back to the city.
And have a good life.
And have a good life. So I remember I learned how to grind millet. I was so little, but it was so exciting. Meanwhile, I was not doing it because it was for food. I think I didn't even know that we were going to eat it later.
Yeah.
It was just nice that there's a big stone and a small stone. Then you put small seeds, and then you roll, and there's a powder comes out of it. Yeah. So our grandmom taught us things like grinding millet. Then we'd go down to milk the cows where my granddad was. And it's just fascinating that, you can get milk. We're going to drink this. But we got to learn the language from our cousins. We could speak Samia very fluently. I also learned that when you're learning a new language, you learn the bad words first.
Why is that?
I don't even know why that happens.
The people who teach you, for the fun of it, want to teach you the bad words.
Yes.
Because I remember getting beaten for words which... So my dad would come back to pick you, and then you're saying, and then he'd beat you. But meanwhile, you've been saying these words with your cousins, and everything was okay. You get beaten for them. Another story that I keep telling, and the people I've told have teased me back today for them. We slaughtered chicken, so at home we're going to have chicken. Then we walked a short distance, like towards my granddad's house, and then we found our cousins roasting chicken legs. We sat with them. They were going to roast. They tasted crispy. My dad found us
Eating chicken legs.
We were beaten, but we didn't understand why. Because first of all, they are crispy.
Yes.
They are nice. I think these other chaps are eating. Why are they also beating these
Thank you,
chaps?
please, KFC.
You beat a chicken leg! Yeah, but then also we bonded with our cousins really well, and then we got to pick up a few skills in the village and learn our language. And I asked myself, one time I was in Busia recently, and I said, can I get my children and leave them here now? Because when we take them to the village, everything about it is fascinating. This is the house where you guys used to come. Oh my God, Mommy, it's so cool. You used to, yes I did. Your parents used to leave you here. It's really fascinating for them that we used to stay there. But there are no taps for water. You know, things that, I'm like, can we do this for our children? Another is we grew up in an extended family. My mom's siblings, I think all of them grew up in our home. Then my dad's relatives would also come. So the house was always full. We're always moving beds, sharing beds. Visitors come to the village, and I mean from the village, and you're sleeping in the sitting room, but you're in the sitting room mumbling. Why are we the ones who have to? They're the visitors.
I know.
Why are we on the floor? But we learned the value of family, and those relatives now are our friends. Sometimes I run to my mom's siblings before I even run to her, and they'll sort you out. They may even be the ones to say, but you don't tell your mom this, it will stress her. Let's sort this one. Good. Let's sort this as the two of us here. And so they're like siblings, they're uncles. Some of them even you call them by their names, then you forget and you're like, hey, sorry, uncle. But I learned the value of family, helping, being supportive, and then picking up the rest. Like I can't rise alone. Can we all rise together? Because at some point you never know who's. My dad's not alive now, but all my mom's siblings are supportive in very many different ways. Some have done it financially, some at events where we're getting married, some have been in hospital with me when I'm giving birth. But he's not here anymore. But he got them from the village, picked them up, and they're able to, and they are where they are today. So those are small lessons that we learned along the way.
I love that.
Do you know the lesson I've learned from your story? Is that when learning is fun, children embrace it.
That's true.
Everything you said was fun. Milking the cow, learning the language. I said, you see what children are able to capture when it's fun. It was fun for you. That's why you talk about it with such fondness. Because if there was anything that, and I know there must have been challenging times, but if there was anything that you despised about it, you would not have shared it like that.
Please, there were some scary
ones.
Just
scary bits. One. But
there was a guy who came home one time dressed in so many things. Horns, what, you know.
Hey!
And I remember one of my brothers saying, "Boy, that's a night dancer." First of all, a guy knocked at that door, and then they sent me to open. Then when I was there, they're like, "By the way, you're opening for a night dancer." I almost passed out at that door. So there were scary stories.
Yes.
Like, and it was just, I think, like a village herbalist or something like that. But it's like, you just open that door for a night dancer. But you know what you've done. I was passed out at that door.
God. Oh, God.
But even the way you've said it, with such animation, and maybe your dad passed the storytelling to you. Do you think?
Nah.
No? You refuse.
Manuela, these are the haters.
That she has said. She's not,
If I can tell for you her story again, you'll be like,
different.
wow.
You feel like you're in the cinema with popcorn and soda.
3D glasses. Hey.
Yeah.
Right, that's wonderful. I grew up in an extremely nuclear family, and I didn't think family was anything else. Mother, father, and your siblings.
Yeah.
You mean there's another definition for family? Because where I lived, it was that.
was it.
Anyone else was a visitor, welcomed visitor, but that was it. And it was perfect. I also grew up knowing that diversity is important because not everyone looked like me. Different skin tone, different race, different accents. But for me, that's what life was, because that's all I saw when growing up for 9 years about. And I thought, isn't it wonderful that there's so many people who are different? Look at all of us being different and diverse. I didn't know anything else for a long time, my brothers and I. And it was so lovely because then you could be an individual and own it. And it was easy to distinguish you from other people, you know, in terms of your personality. Beverley, the only Ugandan in a school of 150. Do you understand? So that was all. I
Can
was
you imagine?
distinguishable. It was so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, and for me, I thought, isn't that what life should be? Be distinguishable. Diversity. I also realized that the total reality was that when children have a strength, harness it. That's the environment I grew up in. Exactly. She's gifted in sports, harness it now. Now. She likes reading, buy her even more books. Let nothing distract her from her journey of reading. I suppose that's largely why I'm a writer today and a poet, because from the age of 6, there was no lack of books. It was all I did. Write, read, play sports, do whatever was in you to do.
Yeah.
Abundance was there. And extending to that, I feel that education maybe shifted when I realized that there are actually many people who are like me. How cool is that? That there's so many people who actually not only look like me, but also are able to embrace things which I love. It was so fascinating when I found out there are other people who like to write like me, who love poetry, who love to read books, who like to travel at a young age.
Yeah.
In your teenage years, you find people who like to talk about, what do you want to be in the future? Do you know that we can conquer the world? What? I was like, this is so amazing to have people like that. Boarding school.
Seeing as the rest of your friends were trying to jump over gates.
Yes.
Yeah.
And total reality was, I think that's an extension of who I am.
Yes.
Valuing diversity, valuing writing, reading, embracing the individual strength a person has. Like, if they are born to be a dancer, my goodness, harness it. Don't let it die.
But you see,
As much as
Beverley,
possible. Yeah. And, okay.
you are hitting something very
Yeah.
powerful there. And the distinguishing line between true education
Yes.
and reduced schooling that reduces a human being, which is what we have largely. Now, what you have been describing is, to me, a true definition of education. And education, the word education comes from a Latin word, educare, which means to bring out what is in there.
Wow.
To bring out what is in there, educare.
Love it.
That's where education comes from. It ends with E, educare, re. Now,
I knew that.
so
She wrote it in Uganda.
the purpose of educare, the purpose of education, is not to prepare people for a hypothetical future. No.
No.
The purpose of education, true education, is to empower people to optimize themselves now. Now. You know how to write, or you have what it takes to write? Okay, do it now. And you're going to even develop it further as you do it. You can run, do it. You can sing, do it. The schooling that we have is preparing you for a hypothetical
world.
future.
Do you know that a light bulb just went off in my head? You know, I will usually say, your children, are you preparing? Are they going
For
to
the
be able to
future.
live in the future? The way the world is changing, did we know we're going to have AI today?
I know.
Were we prepared for
I
it?
know.
Have we embraced it?
I know.
Are we working
Yes.
with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
you see,
know, right?
and
Yes.
see, this is very important.
Wow.
And I will use a personal experience. My son, who passed on,
Yes.
we buried the body on 12th of April 2020, Easter. It was on Easter. Manuel was 11 years. And Manuel's, from that, like, infancy, he was active, like active. And so what we did with the mother, we were like, this boy is really something. So I'm Catholic, but every Sunday I took Manuel to Watoto Church, every Sunday, for him to attend the 10 o'clock service, and he was serving in the midday
was lovely.
service.
Yes.
Always, he was serving.
Yes.
And then in the evening, would go for the Catholic Mass. But I was doing this for him because I saw this is one place where he could be empowered in terms of grooming the leader in him. Yes. And this was so evident everywhere. When he passed on, I was seeing people posting pictures and stories on Facebook, because I used to go with him when I was doing trainings, workshops, and so on. He would be taking pictures. He would be having the camera. He would be making friends. And so people were posting pictures they had taken with him while I'm doing the training. And I didn't know about this, you know. So everywhere he was leading. At school, when we posted, one of the directors of the school at City Parents, you remember it was lockdown, they walked home from wherever. And they said, the director of the school, he doesn't even teach. He said, I know this boy. One time, he was passing by my office, and he saw me. I was trying to sort some books, throwing out some things, and then he came and said, let me help you. And he helped me. That's how I got to know his. Now, my point is this. For us, we believe that that time he lived is what God brought him here to do. A lot of amazing things that happened in our family because of him. Many friends we got and so on. So, the point I'm making is, we have to optimize life now, in the present. You don't know how long somebody's going to live. You don't know even how long the opportunity that you have is going to last. And you don't know how it is going to impact that person when you give them an opportunity to actually live instead of preparing to live. And that, for me, is true education.
God, that's so powerful.
Prepare to live.
Yes.
Quotable quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what schooling does to us.
Yes.
Can you imagine that someone goes from kindergarten? If you do not complete university, if you drop out somewhere in the second semester or second year,
You're a failure.
Mama,
Imagine, after all you've done.
because you have been preparing to live in the future after graduating. You're preparing to live in the future after PLE, after S4, after... No. We live in the present. We don't live in the future. If we don't have an education, the one you have described, the one you have described, the one you have described, this is total reality. I don't know if you have watched that video of Victoria Sechitoleko. You've watched that video.
Yeah.
The question is, what can you do?
Yeah.
Not,
You've
you
watched
see?
it.
Yes,
I've sent it. I sent it to you.
It's a powerful thing.
She was like,
She was
when
asking
Nasa,
about
when they asked, what
junior,
can you do?
what can junior
can
do?
read, junior can write. What else
But
can
what
junior?
can
Junior
junior
can turn,
do?
junior can do this. But Casta Junior finishes school and they ask, what can junior do? Anything.
No, in fact, they say, China Chakola, like doing nothing. What can you do? Anything.
Anything. Like, Choka before they used to
that he was
define
specific,
everything.
yes.
He now turns. Junior kati na kuzina nage
Yes.
nage yatandika okutambula
Ayogera.
ayogera kati akola bwati after school like this what does it chona chomwajja chikola like it's like there's
nothing.
there's nothing.
Junior
Can
is a public speaker. Junior can lead a team.
Exactly.
Junior can. So what I hear you say
Yeah.
is that we need to look for those soft skills, those other things that the children can do in the moment.
Yes.
Harness, polish, groom, whatever it is. And when they move to the next stage and there's another thing that you see, that very one is what you run with.
Yes.
Because
I wouldn't even say only soft skills.
Yeah,
Honestly,
generally.
if you find that your son is really good at football, then you engage him in. So that's not a
Could be
soft
sports,
skill.
could be
That's a-
physics,
That's a real.
could be
even
chemistry,
be-
could be
could be
biology.
Could be
Being in the
actually
club.
could
Could
be
be anything.
anything.
Yeah.
Yes,
Anything.
but at that time they're good at it. How can we help them?
Yeah, because the principle
Could be
is
piano.
Yeah.
go as far as you can see. When you reach there, you will see further. Period.
Yes.
That's the principle.
Yes.
Quotable quotes.
Yeah.
Go as far
What
as you
should
can
teachers do then? I feel teachers also have been trained differently. They've been taught this is what they must finish.
Yeah.
Why? To pass exams.
Yes.
Why? Because these are the top 10 universities
The
in the world.
future.
Why? Because
Yes. Yeah.
you see, and teachers are stranded
Yes.
because they are assessed by how much they have been able
That's
to
it.
pour into somebody, and they're assessed by the grade.
That's
You
it.
see, and that makes
Yeah.
it difficult for
Yeah.
them.
But even if we said it in this way that
Yes.
maybe teachers should change the way the pedagogy and they should
Yes.
teach based on what's on the inside of a child.
Yes.
I don't know as a teacher, I don't know how much poetry there is in Beverly as a 6-year-old.
Do you want
you
to
know?
know?
So as a
But I
teacher,
understand what
you
you
understand
mean.
what I mean?
Yes.
Because then how
Yes.
do they gauge me? Do
Yes.
they say when Beverly becomes a renowned poet in Africa, then
When
you
she has
did
won
well.
an award.
When she wins an award, I say now that teacher,
Yes.
you are the one who's winning. So I understand why they dial back, or actually I understand why the move. Because we've been talking about this changing of our education system for so
For a long
long. But the reason as to why it's so hard, because you're like, okay, so how do I know I've done well with this child?
Yeah.
Even me as a parent, I don't know. Did I get the best out? The other day, Bianca tells me, I love to play the piano. Oh, okay, we get the piano. No, I want the drum.
So now your house is full of instruments.
Now you have instruments, you don't know what to do. Then the other day she's like, no, basketball, that's the one. And so you're keeping on doing these things. We're talking just this afternoon about children who are who are too busy.
Overstimulated.
They are overstimulated.
Yes.
Morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. swimming class. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Public speaking class. 2 p.m. to chess
Ballet.
class. Ballet.
Swimming.
Tomorrow. The next day. Meanwhile, they are
Chess.
on holiday. So how do you find that balance?
I think parents are conflicted because many parents grew up with a system that didn't provide diversity. Now they're in schools where there's Kampala Music School and they want to do everything.
Yeah.
I believe that they're just creating a problem with a different voice. You're creating the same problem, a different voice. What was wrong in school is that they have so much homework and so much. What you're doing is providing so much homework, so many subjects. It just looks fancy because it's piano and it's recorder. But really, that child is exhausted. So you're doing the same thing in a different voice. Parents are conflicted. It's why many parents think as long as they go to a school with this curriculum, I'm sorted. But do you know that curriculum? I've taught in various schools with various
Different
international curricula. No, it's about the child.
Yes.
And I believe, as someone who studied education, first degree, I've only taught in international schools, and for 3 years out of 20 years or so that I left, in that 3-year experience, I'll tell you that I strongly believe there's a value of education that is at home. And what I'm saying is that not everyone has a home where the parents are nurturing. Some people may not have that. Despite that, a home environment, and by the way, I mean even if you grew up in an orphanage, that if that is your home environment, and I'm saying it in a sense that a home environment that are safe and nurturing, all right? So even if it's an orphanage nurturing, your own home with your biological parents, extended family, whatever it may be, there is a value in home education that lays a great foundation, that whatever school the child goes to, that foundation is important. We can only hope that the schools are able to then further the journey that the home environment began. Not all schools do that. Not all schools do that. But for me, there's a value in home education. Again, parents are busy. They're doing so many things.
Yeah,
That's
because
what I
who's educating the child except the maid
Yes,
now?
and I don't even mean homeschooling. I just mean, yes,
In terms of
the home
education.
environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
The introduction to reality.
Yes.
What reality is the person who's at home with your child
Introducing.
introducing
Because you said they taught
their
you
reality.
foul language.
Yes,
In your and the parents had left you saying they're going to learn culture.
Yeah.
They were teaching you.
They're going to learn the language.
The
but
language
we learned,
that you learned
were
was,
beaten for it.
Yes. In all of this then, how can teachers be helped so that even though their workload may be quite heavy, how can they help a child to really become potentially at their best?
Yeah, I think the years I've been in education, and what I didn't tell you, in 97, I started a community secondary school in my village, that village. It was the first secondary school. Before that, Mpata. Before that, kids never went beyond primary. My family story was a different one. So I started a secondary school. It's now government school.
Oh, wow.
It's the government school in that sub-county. And so I taught in that school by virtue of that. And so since 97, I've been in education. I taught in university. Now I teach, I train people who teach in universities, mainly, among other things. And what I have seen is that we are entrapped, and not only in this country, worldwide. Education is in a crisis, and it's a crisis of conceptualization, and the teachers find themselves caught up in that crisis. It's a crisis of standardization. You see, Plato once said, children are not like beans in a bean pod. Because you see, beans in a bean pod, the moment I open that bean pod and I pour the beans out, it will be so hard for me to place back each bean where it was.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Yeah? They are so identical, they are like the same. Children are not like that. Everyone is different. And then why is it that schooling would like to standardize everybody. So these teachers, like you described it, the teachers, I've met many teachers who are passionate about doing the right thing, but the system cannot allow them to do the right thing because the system is going to ask for the grades which are standardized. Okay? So, and they have to fit within that frame. Okay? So they have to standardize the children. Now, that is the tragedy. So what I think schools need to do, and there are emerging models for such schools that are doing this. What schools need to do is, if home can't be home, let's create a homely environment at school. Because home can't be home to really do that true education. Parents maybe not empowered, don't know what to do, and you know, they are working, busy, they can't. So can we organize schools in such a way that they can provide education for all, but very importantly, education for each? And there are methods to do that. Okay? You have taught international schools, there are bits of that. There are also issues there as well. But yes, there is a lot we can borrow from there to bring, you know, to our mainstream. And I must say, like government of Uganda, what it has done with this new curriculum, it's a good idea. It's a fantastic starting point. And lastly, you see, I think that the higher we go in the schooling system, the more we get demoted. Why? Like now you watch, the people who are currently in secondary school and using the new curriculum, when they cross to university, they are going to face an automatic demotion. Why? The methods used in the new curriculum in secondary school are far much superior
than
to the methods used in university. Okay? So when they cross and go to university, then it will be like going backwards. Yeah? It will be like going backwards. Look at some of the good kindergartens that we have in this city. When you look at their report cards, they are not just looking at mathematics. No. They observe the child, and they will tell you, good at talking to others, good at
behavior
sharing,
specific,
all those specifics. That is the real thing. Because then you are observing this child and say, oh, okay, so this one is very good at actually leading others. This one is good at consoling.
Lovely.
This one likes sharing. Those are the real powerful educational achievements which are going to make this human being useful to other human beings. And so you bring the mathematics to sharpen that. You bring the physics to sharpen that. You bring the biology to sharpen that. And then there will now be the people who know how to apply the IT and the biology and the physics to be kind to other people. And that's powerful education. But we have to reframe. So the teachers really, I must appreciate, their hands are tied. But I believe that we can give them, we can take them a notch higher if there was a deliberate effort to empower them with tools, with skills, techniques, knowledge. Exposure is very powerful.
I must say though, individualized learning is not, it's not for the weak. That's why it's not even happened around the world. Because people don't even know themselves. How can someone get the best out of them, and not just one person, but 30 children in a modern school? Now you have 100. So I can't wait to hear how we I would like to hear those there's models.
A guy, Etienne Salbon, German young man. He came to Uganda. I met him in 2014. He came to me with my book, the second edition. He told me this book was recommended to me by a Dutch young lady. Now she's Dr. Marie Black. She's in Uganda. And he told me, you see, the things you write here are the things I want to do, and I want to set up a social innovation academy. You might have heard of SINA, the Social Innovation Academy, at Mpigi Hill, top there. It's 20 years now. This is the model they use.
Okay.
There are no structured classes. We take in people, whether you have finished a degree, many graduates, senior for dropouts, whichever level, as long as you feel confident that there's something in
the
you.
inside of you.
Yes. So in a space of 1.5 years, you leave that place with a functioning business, a functioning project already set. As I speak today, a couple of them are now in Washington. every year that place produces an award winner globally at Mpigi Hill there because of that model.
Great.
Yes.
That's great.
So these models are there.
So they just come in, and so how are the teachers?
They're actually
Are
not
they
teachers.
What
they
are
are
they?
mentors. They are
Okay,
facilitators.
mentors.
They are not structured classes. It's the first 3 months. It's a session that introduces you to self-discovery. Who am I? 3 months.
Great.
Because you see the tragedy, I think it was Seneca, one of the philosophers, he said, the tragedy of a person's life is not death, because death is the
knowing why
surest
you
deal
are
in life,
here.
right?
Yeah.
The real tragedy of a person's life is what dies in the inside of you while you live.
Yeah.
That's the real tragedy. So at SINA, the starting point is, who are you? What is in you? What fascinates you?
Yeah.
So you discover that, and it's a process. Now, after that, they take you through now the discovering of what's around you. A lot of research, online, reading books, having conversations, going to seminars, this, that, because in that process, you are going to clarify. Yes,
Where
I'm
you
fascinated
fit in.
by Beyonce, but could there be something even better?
Yeah.
Or maybe there's another style better than Beyonce's. Or, you see?
Yeah.
So
where you fit into that
exactly.
world. Yeah.
Now, and they take you through different stages. There are 5 stages. Now, after that point, then you are able to point at something that you want to do. If you discover it's singing that you want to do,
like Beyonce.
then they will take you through working out a business model
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
It's not just speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah? Think around it. You are passionate about it, yes. Are you gifted
Really?
in it? Yes. Does it make economic sense? Yeah? So, because you want to add value to society.
Yes.
But you see, it must be value that gives back value to you as well. Okay? So they take you through all of that. When you have figured that out, now they begin, it's a coaching thing. Because a coach asks you questions and then provokes you and prompts you and stimulates you and inspires you. And then you go.
Okay.
You learn something, you have a disturbance. The coach might not even have the answer. But the
answer
coach
is inside you.
Yes. But the coach gives you that stimulation.
Yeah.
And also connects you. So they will connect you to this platform, to that platform, and that platform. And before you know it, now you are clear until you are able to actually put the product on
there.
the market.
Wow.
And many kids. There was a kid there that went and she got an award from the Queen when she was still alive in the palace. From PG to the palace.
Wow.
One young lady.
Wow.
And many others, really.
Yeah.
Because of that model.
Okay.
And it's not about how many papers you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about how do you use the opportunities around you to learn, to sharpen what's in you, and to translate that into value that you give to society. That the value of the value you give determines the value of the
That
value
you
you
get.
receive.
Yeah,
Simple.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So much about value.
Your book, After University, What Next? Something that you said in the book synopsis is, this is a young people's century. Given the new social order and the unstoppable breakthroughs in science and technology, no graduate youth should go without a decently rewarding job. However, just this statement is still embedded in the fact that the existing socio-economic systems designed for the 20th century life are not aligned with what is needed to optimize the productive energy of those youth in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
No, basically the book, why it has that title, After University, What Next, is I was asking myself a question, looking at many young people going to university, graduating, and then afterwards they're asking themselves, what next? The parents are asking themselves, what next? The nation is asking itself, what next? So the question behind that question for me is, you went to school, so what?
Yeah.
Because school is supposed to have empowered you to live your life optimally, period.
Yeah.
And as long as there are needs in society, there is work.
Yes.
And so there are jobs.
Yeah.
There are jobs.
So if education, the so-called education, which is precisely called schooling, because education cannot fail you. True education cannot fail you.
Yeah.
Schooling can fail you.
That's true.
Because schooling is about the
Wonderful.
grades.
Yes.
True education is about you living your real life
Yeah.
and optimizing what God put in you.
Yeah.
So it can't fail you. And so my thing was, okay, look, the system is too big for you as an individual, as a young person, but you can take personal responsibility.
Yeah.
You can't change the system overnight,
No, you can't.
but you can change your direction as a person overnight.
Yeah.
So what the book is about, first of all, the first about 1 quarter is describing the problem.
Yeah.
Then the last 3 quarters
Is
are
how it-
giving solutions to the individual. Take it upon yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah? And one of the things I argue in there is, in the 21st century, formal education may, I underline may in capital letters, bold, may earn you a job, but it is self-education that will build you a prosperous career.
That's
Yes.
true. That's so true.
Yeah.
Can I be honest?
Please.
Yes.
One of the biggest challenges I have in my child care center,
Yes.
not kindergarten,
Child
child care center,
Yes.
0 to 3,
Yes.
is parents asking if their 2-year-old, why their 2-year-old can't read.
I know.
2 years
2
old.
years.
Why they can't read. But aren't you what do you teach them? No, when do they do math?
Sincerely,
Your
yeah,
child
they have come to
is
play.
2 years.
The way their minds have been so
Yes, and I'm hearing all these conversations, and I hear most people like our age group with children going into secondary school. They talk like this. No, education should change. Education should change. But they are in the real formal schools bribing for their children to go to those schools.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know how schools are. One of my, Gabriela is in P7.
Oh.
And so, of course, they will require her to, you know, be in class. But sometimes when there are trips I am making, say I'm going to do a presentation, I'll tell my daughters, today you're not going to school, we go.
Yes.
And there is a lot of learning.
Learning,
We have a
a
home
lot,
home
yes.
bakery. We do cookies around
That's
100
good.
supermarkets around town.
Wonderful.
And so when we put containers of cookies in the car, and I know, for example, we are going to a school and they are going to be parents and so on. So I tell the girls, you are in charge.
Yes.
That's your issue. Me, I'm just going to be doing my session.
I love that.
And the last time I remember we went to Nagalam and there were these many schools. We took a lot of cookies and the girls sold out. They were so excited.
Wonderful.
They couldn't wait to go back home and tell their mother, we
You see?
sold out.
That's education.
Now that for me
Is education. One of my children will say, Mommy, today may I stay home for self-reflection? We have no problem with it. A couple
Yeah.
of days, she'll do that in a term because she says, what I'm going to do at school, I can do here, and then here I have more time to, and she's extremely reflective and discerning. And I think anyone who has a spirit of discernment, my goodness, you have strength.
Yeah.
You can overcome, first of all, your own inner challenges, and then you can overcome external challenges. And it's all right. My sister held a concert. None of the children went to school because this was a family. I told them, told the teachers, this is a family event. The things they learned from being at the concert, some of them ushering, giving gifts to the chief guest.
And you say who it is. That now I get a car.
Yes. That for me was learning. And then afterwards, the 2 youngest went because my sister was playing the piano. They want the piano. It was, children are this. I said, let them learn and play. And yes, I love what you've shared. Yes.
And I've been honored because, I mean, the book has been on the market since 2003. This is third edition, 2018.
Okay.
Goodness.
I was, for example, invited to Italy to do trainings for educators and young people. 2010 during the peak of youth riots and so on. And I've been honored. I've got feedback from people from over 20 countries.
Oh my goodness.
Read the book. It's,
Wow.
Where can one buy the book? And who is that book written
in
for?
the lead bookstores like Aristoc, you can find it. It's published by MK Publishers.
Yes, they're great educational publishers. They're really good.
What age group do you think is best
for all?
to
Now,
start
actually,
to read that book?
if you can help me with the book, I'll answer that question in just this short statement. This is what the New Vision wrote when they reviewed the book. They said, it does not matter at what stage of your life you read this book. It will still be relevant. It will tickle your mind and make you think about the choices you make in your life. It will energize your thinking and make you see opportunities where you previously saw darkness.
I love it.
It's a book for everybody.
I love it.
Okay.
So my 12-year-old daughter can read
Yes.
it. 25-year-old
I have
daughter
someone
can read it.
in P7 who gave me a very powerful feedback. This book is about 10 years ago, I think. Now, someone, P7, read the other edition and gave me feedback. So that for me was a litmus test
That's-
that
yes.
even someone at that level
Can
can read it. And there was a dean of students at Makerere University, I'll not mention the name. He read that book and he told me, it's like you have finally confirmed I should resign and go and mind my business before I'm too old to actually do that. And he resigned.
The power of
Books.
books and messaging and, oh my goodness, passing on wonderful, changing systems, thought processes. Well done. Mr. Mukiibi, it's been wonderful being with you, learning more about education, but also learning about how our own childhood has influenced who we are today, and appreciating the various learning structures that have impacted us, and also opening up our minds to find how we can embrace the best so that we pass them on to our children and also to our community, so that we can make the communities we're in the best places possible because of who we are and because of what we've learned. Thank you so much. I'm interested in Sina. I'm going to visit it,
Yes, please.
learn about it.
Online, then
Yes,
you can go visit.
yes.
They'll take you around, you'll be
Wonderful. I'll buy the book, as I'm sure all of us will. Manuel already
Certainly.
has.
I already bought.
Yes, and we're going to be more cognizant of who we are as parents, passing on education values to our children. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you, as always, for being here with us. Many of you are teachers. Many of you are learners. Many of you are educators, educationists. Many of you have questions about what schools your children are going to. Are they receiving the best? Many of you want to be the best parent who passes on values, maybe time constraints, challenges. We are sure that this has opened up your mind to seeing how more valuable you can be to your children and also to yourself. Start with yourself. Learn more about who you are so that you can share about learning with your children. Thank you for being with us. This is Bump Love, another Friday. Wish you a wonderful weekend and bless you, bless you, bless you. Bye.
Bump Lab was brought to you by
Dial star 185 hash option 6 and you could be our lucky winner.
Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.